You woke? Time to get. Hello and welcome to Thought You're Woke No Speed Limit Podcast. This is an emergency podcast. I am still in the process of setting up my studio. You probably see some of the mess in the background. But anyway, I just wanted to make a brief podcast about what President Biden just said on TV. Okay? I can't totally disagree with part of that. Part of this is this. If you're protesting, I don't think violence is necessary. I really don't think that there's any need for violence at this time of any kind. And I can say this in no uncertain terms that I do not agree to violence. And what I mean by violence, that means throwing rocks, breaking windows, fighting with other people, throwing tear gas or Molotov cocktails, burning things. Violence, that kind of violence. Anything where people are hurt or property is destroyed, that is not necessary. So, here's where we diverge. So he says it's breaking the law because you're shutting down classes and people aren't going to class and all those things. It may have been a minor slip of the tongue by him, but he does not understand what civil disobedience means. Let me give you definition number one. The refusal to comply with certain laws or to pay taxes or fines as a peaceful form of political protest. That is what civil disobedience is. When these people are protesting, they're not out there doing kumbaya. They do not have a permit. They don't have to have a permit for this to march down the street to protest their feelings. Now, I'm going to say something about the protest. I do know that this happened at UCLA because they talked about it on Fox News when they talked to an Israeli student. Because this is the thing about the mainstream media that I've watched. Today was the first time I've seen an interview with a Palestinian student, and they gave his side of the story. All they keep talking about is how Israeli students are being discriminated against. And I will say this, or Jewish students, rather, are being discriminated against. And I want to say this. That's wrong also. You do not discriminate against somebody because of their race. We may support, one side may support Palestinians or their ethnic group. One side may support Palestinians or Israel. I get that. There's a lot of different things going on here. There's a lot of history. There's a lot that's going on here. There's nothing wrong with that. But discrimination, hurting a person because they're Palestinian or hurting a person because they're Jewish, saying nasty things about them because of that or because of those things, because they're Arab, because they're Muslim, any of those things to me is a violation, okay? To be upset with the Israeli government is one thing. I am upset with the Israeli government and the IDF for how they are conducting their campaign against Hamas. I have condemned Hamas. I have not condemned the Palestinian people. Hamas and the IDF and the Israeli government combined are the problem here that has caused a wider conflict that now includes Iran, indirectly or directly or whatever you want to call it, who will cause its proxies to then attack people like our soldiers in Iraq and our soldiers in, by the way, we still have soldiers in Syria, and they may even attack our soldiers if they could in Saudi Arabia. A widening conflict. The Houthis are firing at American ships with their missiles that we're shooting down, but they're still firing at us. So we do have a right to protest. And that's where I disagree with President Biden. But at the same time, I understand why he said that we have to obey the law. He's president of the United States. What is the president supposed to do? He is the agent of the government. He is the executor of the American government, which has laws that it stands by. So, civil disobedience. Let me explain something. I'm going to give you a simple explanation of this. When Dr. Martin Luther King and his group marched in Alabama, they did not have a permit to march. So what happened here? They set the dogs on them. They used water hoses against them. Dr. King spent the night in jail here in Birmingham, by the way. He spent the night in jail along with other students and protesters. They spent the night in jail because they illegally protested. That is what civil disobedience is. I don't obey the law simply just to obey the law. So if they put up those tent cities and they were in defiance and they shut down the campus, so be it. I have no problem with that. Where I have a problem with, and people were talking about this, is the violence that occurred because some outside agitators got upset that these outside agitators, people who weren't even students at the school, decided they were going to tear down the barriers and force the people in the tents out of the tents, and then cause a ruckus among them, which ended up costing fist fights. Now, the LAPD and the LA County Sheriffs and whoever else have moved in, arrested people, and taken down the tents. Civil disobedience, that happens right there. You arrested people. If they were civil, that's disobedience. But I do not call tent cities with people in them violence. I watched protests here in Alabama yesterday. Let me tell you about that one. So during that particular protest, you had one side that was Palestinian, one side, I guess they were pro-Israel. I wasn't sure because they kept saying USA, USA, USA and holding up Trump flags. So I don't know if that was really what was going on with them, but I guess that's who they were pulling for. One guy did have a Palestinian flag and held it up in front of the camera. That protest was peaceful. That protest was peaceful, but my thing is to understand why you go to a level of civil disobedience, blocking highways, blocking streets. Those are not violence. That's civil disobedience. That's the things you do, putting up tent cities, doing things like that. It causes a peaceful disturbance in order to reach a point. Now, if someone thinks I have a problem with the FBI can come knock on my door tomorrow, and that'll be another one on YouTube the next week. I don't care. Like I said, I don't condone violence, but I do condone civil disobedience. The right of people to protest freely how they feel to exact change. That's the whole idea. I don't have to go down to City Hall and ask for a permit to march to express my First Amendment rights. I can go right now and post up a sign and stand in the park, and then you can decide whether you like that sign or not, and then you can arrest me. But I did express my First Amendment rights. Now, where I disagree is I can't then go down to the park, decide to either beat up people, set the park on fire, park benches on fire, tear down the statues, and do all those things. That's called violence. That's called rioting. I am not into that. Like I said, I can go to the park, I can set up a tent right now, refuse to leave at 11 o'clock at night when the park closes, leave my tent there and my signs there, and make you have to come get me. I can do that. Nothing wrong with that at all. That is protesting. Mr. President, understand what you are telling these people is that the only way they can protest is if they have a permit. That is wrong. That is not how this works. Even though that is what you can do as President of the United States, and you're supposed to, as the chief executive, or who executes the laws, just like the police are, they're part of the executive branch, they're an arm of the executive branch. They execute the laws, and if their job is to arrest people and take them in, fine, but the political point is being made one way or the other. Again, I urge people to peacefully be disobedient. If you want to stand in front of a building and block that building to keep people from entering by peacefully protesting, that's fine. But please remember, do not commit an act of violence. Do not forcefully stop a person from entering or leaving the building. Do not do any of those things. Do not burn. Do not fight. Do not destroy. But be civil in your disobedience. I have said my piece. I'm done with this for right now, and y'all have a wonderful day.
You have been listening to Thought You Were Woke No Speed Limit Podcast.